Gary Barker, you are the CEO of Reapit. Reapit, through its CRM, looks after a quarter of the UK's rental properties. So you are seeing everything what's happening in the property market. I'd like you to give your personal opinion on why you think the online estate and letting agents have almost topped off and have not continued to grow from what you have been seeing. Talk to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good kind of question when you look at that space because, it seems to have plateaued now. And I think that plateau might just be, it's just a lot of people talk about the private sector, back in the days when we used to do private sales. And has it just replaced private sales? Is the cost of acquisition of getting those customers far too high that, they can keep it going? Or is it just a case of this is somebody's biggest asset? If I'm selling my biggest asset, I want a real trust. I want to be able to trust somebody to get the best possible price to get me through that minefield of buying and selling because I haven't done it for so long. And ultimately, there becomes a point that that's a challenge. And I think maybe the online agents are in a position where there is a market for that. There is a segment of the market, and maybe it's that box standard transaction, nice and simple, nice and easy. It's the same house and the same street. And therefore it will reach a certain perspective. And there's also those tech savvy guys that know that they can get it for that fee. But nowadays we're seeing so many different models, whether it be the traditional agency model, which I still think is going to have a very, very, very strong pace. I think agents probably will be looking at how they engage with customers on that on-street presence. I think I could probably call out a few people. Peter Lawrence, and I challenge anybody to go and visit one of his offices where he literally is so well known in the community that people kind of come to him for recommendations around where to go to get the best loaf of bread. I mean, he really understands his community. He's part of that community. And if somebody then decides to sell the house, where are they going to go? And they still go in the offices.
You do know that he goes around interviewing people in the local community on TV, and it's Chris and Matt, who's the studio we're in.
Well, there you go.
And we didn't know that was coming, did we?
No, we didn't know that was coming. And it is a small world, but he's very good at that. And there are agents that are out there understanding that the local presence means something. It doesn't mean that they can't grow their audience to 10, 15, 20 offices. I mean, Sean Newman's a good one as well. He's out there, he's taking videos, he's asking questions, he's becoming part of that community. And there's so many people like that. And I think that's where the traditional space has. On top of that, there's now additional kind of markets that are coming out. It's the franchise space.
Yes.
And that hub and spoke kind of maybe Keller Williams kind of space.
Okay. Well, I think a lot of people are mixing up the hub and spoke model versus the self-employed model because quite often they are the same, but they can be different.
They can be different. Yeah.
Do you think self-employed agency is going to be the flavour of the month?
Again, I think it's going to be a sweet spot for individuals. What works for them? I think Keller Williams, their model is very much, they want a hub and spoke, but they want them self-employed. They want to give those individuals the opportunity to work at the hours that suit them, in a way that suits them, to have a lifestyle outside of those. And they're attracting, a number of really good agents right now.
Let's talk about some of the corporates out there. I mean, there's some quietly competent, the LSLs, the Connell Sequence, the Spicer Hearts of this world. They seem to be, LSL had a cull about 12 months ago of their offices. I thought that was quite clever. So my sorrow goes to the people that were made redundant. I've been there myself. I know you have been there as well, haven't you? And it really does throw you to six.
It does.
Do you think the corporates should go down the self-employed route?
I think the challenge, I think, with the corporates a little bit is around where they get their accelerated revenue from as well. And so you've got to get that commitment for the upsell as well. And I think that's where sometimes the challenge is, where the self-employed has a vision that they want to do what they want to do and get their revenue piece, which is, and sometimes around that sale or the rental of the property. But I think a lot of the corporate agents, they also have that upsell across their different services. And you've really got to believe in that. Now, it doesn't mean it can't work, but I think they've got to believe in that service offering. And if they can get that right, it's an interesting space. Obviously, it's going to reduce their cost base, reduce their commitment, but equally they've got to make sure they have the training that goes around it as well.
It's interesting, the Halifax estate agents 15 years ago decided to license out the branches. And there was a mixed bag of success. I told you it came down to exactly what you said. It was the people, whether they believed it or not. I think interesting times ahead for UK estate agency.
It is, and I think as every company that works in this industry, whether it be prop tech or services, like what you do. I mean, we're going to have to make sure that we have a model that fits with all of them.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.